So the launch weekend of Modern Warfare 2 is now concluded, and we're rolling into that first real week of the game itself. But with perhaps the first drop of the game now behind us, how's the game feeling after the first few days? Today I want to give you a brief little review of the game thus far and my thoughts on where we're at, what needs done, and what the future hopefully holds. So as we go along, drop your thoughts below. Are you liking the game? What would you add, change, adjust, and why? Feel free to drop your thoughts below, but if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2. We're chasing down 600,000 subscribers now, and we'll keep you up to date with absolutely any and everything you need to know in regards to tips, tricks, updates, news, and information in regards to Modern Warfare 2 and soon Warzone 2 and DMZ alongside with that. If you'd like to join the community and stay on top of all of it, I'd love to have you. But that said, let's jump into my initial review here of Modern Warfare 2. Firstly, let's kind of start on the positive note here with this. I do think the game has the bones. There's absolutely great potential to be truly great with this game, and I think for some, maybe it's already there. And if so, if it is a great game to you, that's awesome. Me personally, I just think the framework is there, but we can absolutely see it be expanded upon. Now, here's a few things that I really do enjoy though. Gameplay-wise, the gunplay feels clean and good. Modern Warfare 2019 was the same. Wasn't a fan of the TTK then, still not necessarily now. I think that it definitely could use a bit of an increase, opting for more skilled gunfights in a sense, in who has the better shot versus who's just pre-aimed the most, but I'll hold off on that debate until a little later on. But the gunplay feels good to me. Weapons feel beefy, others feel compact and mobile. It offers a nice variety. As much as I get sniped by rooftops and ground war, sniping feels fun as well. The only thing that I really haven't attempted to know if I'll enjoy or not is that riot shield and melees. Just about everything else though feels pretty solid. Maps, I think that there's definitely some good ones here. Are they better than Modern Warfare 2019's launch offering? That's probably debatable. I mean, Modern Warfare 2019 didn't have Santa Senya as a 6v6 map, and we're going to touch on that one in particular a little later on down the line. But some of the maps definitely I enjoy playing on. Others I'll still skip out on for sure. Weapon progression, while I'm definitely positive there are people that do not like this weapon progression system, I kind of like the way the new leveling is this year. I enjoy that for certain weapons to be unlocked, I have to play out of my comfort zone a bit. I also think it's a cool way to engage players in a way they may not normally. And that may be subjective. If you don't like it, that's totally cool as well. I will say, kind of tying in with that, gunsmith wise, I can appreciate the lower levels of weaponry, but I do think that it gets scaled proportionately. So each weapon is still probably around that grind of getting it to level 60 to 70, as we saw in recent games. I do like the concept of attachments as well that you can use across the board instead of having to unlock an optic 50 times across the board, across all weapons, ranking them up individually. But I will say that it does kind of have its trade-offs for those that don't like it. I can understand why. I mean, I ranked up the 50 GS for the blue dot optic only to find out that I didn't quite like the optic itself. So it was kind of like, well, damn, wasted that time. Beyond that though, one of my personal favorites here with this game, especially as a camo grinder, is I enjoy the way they handle the camo system this year. I enjoy that they made the grind a bit easier for the average player. It's still about the same length and duration, but it's just made easier in my opinion to those who don't normally go for it. You don't have a daunting amount of 100 challenges to get gold on a single weapon, because let's be honest, if you're a casual player, you look at the total amount of challenges that you need to do to get gold. Are you going to take the grind that's only 4 to 5 camo challenges, or are you going to take the one that's over 100? Pretty sure that's a logical answer here for this. 4 challenges and a 5th for gold on most weapons, then challenges for platinum and polyatomic. It's a neat way to change the mold up of what we've been used to the last couple of years. Also, I gotta say that I do love that I can grind out a few camos to get specific camos that I can then use universally on all of my weapons, and so that I can actually have some decent ones before the completion of my masteries. Like what I did recently was the FSS Hurricane and the Signal 50. For that, it was a like lime green solid matte color, and then the Signal 50 gave me Spectrum camo, which was surprisingly easy of a challenge for how cool of a camo I think that is. Once you rank up the Signal 50, all it is 25 one-shot, 1-kill medals, which if you get the aiming and bullet drop down on the Signal 50, that's just like 25 regular kills. I will say though that I do think the UI for the camos is pretty awful. I think that we should see the 4 camos for the guns listed, then the masteries like we see side to side like that, but then some sort of category listing that you can expand upon like a vertical fashion instead of having to scroll across to the right 180 camos if you want to reach that end. That's just me personally, but again, some of the core pillars here I really enjoy. I like that we have ground war. I like the traditional 6v6 offering for the most part. I like the gunplay. I like the camo system. Now, as for my critiques, criticisms, and dislikes, how am I feeling about those after, well, actually, how many hours has it been since I put in since launch? I can't seem to find it because, there's not any barracks. That's right. Basic features in this game are missing, which to me it doesn't make too much sense. We've had 3 years of development. There has been reported no developmental turmoil or anything like that the last couple of games have had. I mean, Black Ops Cold War and Vanguard were basically from scratch projects or revisions of projects in motion on a much shorter developmental window. So with 3 years of uninterrupted time, why are things like barracks, calling cards and emblem selections and specific challenges for unlocks for those, career challenges, as mentioned, coming at launch, hardcore, again, as mentioned, coming at launch before the launch of the game, why are those all missing? Hardcore, of course, tier 1, it is coming at season 1. The rest of the stuff we don't quite know, but it's just so strange to me that we've seen so many things like this missing that after apparently no issues in development are still missing. Like, to that degree, I just see zero excuse on that, and perhaps that's my ignorance to game development, but I mean, these are staple features. We've seen all of these before in every single game. Some, of course, yeah, like Infinite Warfare did not have it at launch, but that made a huge outrage, and rightfully so. The weird thing is we've even seen the combat record from developmental tools that leaked out a couple of weeks ago, so again, why aren't these things in there? At launch, I will say that this was absolutely super problematic the first day or two. I haven't experienced it as much, but I mean, I quite literally think I crashed more games than I played of Modern Warfare 2. Whether it be on PlayStation 5 or PC, it didn't matter for me, especially when I was partied up. Again, that in particular, crashing with parties, should be fixed out as of right now, but it was still like, how does this keep happening? How am I crashing so much? So that's something that I'm at least happy that it's taken care of, but I think that that should have been a non-issue at launch to begin with. I don't know how the game gets that buggy to the point where I'm crashing more than I actually ended up playing. Beyond that, talking about the gameplay loop itself, the one thing that struck me as odd is that for right now, we're still just hard stuck at rank 55 as our max, nothing until season 1. And I get that that's only like 2.5 weeks after the launch, so really you can't fit a whole preseason or anything in there, but it's just weird to be locked at such a low level per se. And also, coming to season 1, and that's seasonal prestiges. Like, I get your logic and reasoning is the returning player retention to kind of boost that and elongate the player life cycle, but I also don't think that that actually works. If your rank isn't permanent and you know that it'll be wiped in 2 months, then why should you care about coming back to rank it up? You should have a career leveling system as well, at the very least, I think, that goes alongside that shows what you've done the entirety of the year. Maybe we'll see that implemented, but for right now, what's been detailed, I'm not really a fan that we keep going back to seasonal prestiges. Now, actually, in the gameplay, skill-based matchmaking this year has been absolutely railing me, dude. I quite literally feel like every single domination, hardpoint, TDM even, is some sort of champs qualifier because I'm getting traded out by every single gunfight. This is the first Call of Duty that like I actually feel like I'm terrible at because I just keep dying and missing all my streaks or anything like that. It has been rough. It's been a rough go. I know that a couple of my friends that I've played with have done incredibly well and awesome for them, but I've had some of the worst luck between gameplay, the gunfights that I get into, and then I guess spawns. Spawns in particular, man, I could make probably a whole video about the spawns. I keep dying in the most BS ways imaginable. I mean, I died to somebody that was executing me as soon as I spawned the other day. How does that happen? I don't understand that one at all, but I mean, that kind of stuff does get ironed out, but still, it's just like, why is that a thing to begin with? Maps, well, maps again, like I said, some of them I like, some I don't at all. Santa Senya is a perfect example. That might actually be one of my least favorite maps of all time in Call of Duty history. That as a 6v6 map, I think is awful. Coming from a massive ground war map, we have like 4 other regions that could easily be 6v6 maps that you could take and make their own, but we ended up getting the one part where visibility is non-existent. You have so much clutter that it's basically a giant landmine at the beginning of the map because every car is explosive almost. Like, that doesn't really make a whole ton of sense to me. I'm sure there's a handful of maps that you guys could also point out that you're not too fond of as well, but that's definitely the one that does it for me. Perks, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse with this one. Still not a fan personally of the perk package. Also a bit salty they took my quick fix out of the bonus perk category. But I guess at least giving props to Infinity Ward, they've at least made the ultimate perk category very competitive. You have quick fix, you have ghost, you have high alert, among others. So it absolutely makes it something where you can't have a super OP class like that. And you really got to think about how you want to play the game. I still think that the field upgrades and streak animations take way too long to call everything in. This game feels like the normal pace of COD, but then everything was built to like 50% of it. The TTK, again, kind of going into that a little too fast, making it to the point where you have to pre-aim everything, slowing down the pace even further, just like those field upgrades and animations for the streaks work as well. Coming back to what we mentioned earlier in the video, my big problem with TTK like this isn't so much about, oh, you can't get kills or anything like that, but more so just that it incentivizes a much slower style of play. Because if you end up sprinting around a map, chances are you're going to get caught in a sprint out time delay, and somebody that is probably pre-aiming a corner or something that you're coming around will absolutely be able to gun you. To me, I think when you take that TTK and slow it down just a little bit, you give the chance for counterplay. It offers up more so gunfights that are actually predicated on skill and who has the better aim, rather than just who's sitting in a corner, who's posted up, watching an angle, and getting that first shot off, not un-ADSing the entire time. And obviously with how slow movement is in this game overall, it just slows the pace down incredibly. Kind of the entire opposite of the arcade shooter genre that Infinity Ward absolutely popularized and blew up with Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 back in the day. This is a complete 180 of that pacing, or at least that's the way that it feels to me. And then finally, I guess off the top of my head, UI is the last thing that I think is really bad. It's not going to change, but this is probably my least favorite UI. It kind of feels like they took a mobile UI and was just like, let's put it on console, PC, and everything. The platform that sure might have the most number of users across the world, but in terms of usability on larger platforms, it's probably the worst ways that you could lay out an interface for things like console, for things like PC. Mobile doesn't translate in that degree as well. So right now it just seems like it's super convoluted. And honestly, that's the great way I think to describe the game overall right now, is that it seems overly complex, convoluted in a sense, and to me, making so many changes to things that didn't really need changed, like just making changes for the sake of making changes. I don't know if Infinity Ward looked at Modern Warfare 2 and was like, okay, we have the blueprint for Modern Warfare 2019. We know that that worked, but let's change some key focal stuff so that we don't get the comments of, oh, it's a copy and paste. Like, I don't get why we needed to change the perk system. I don't get why we needed to change the user interface to the degree that it did. Some of these changes, like the camo progression system, maybe even the weapon leveling system, depending on who you ask, are absolutely good changes, but some of the other stuff is just like, why? Now, all that said, I don't really mean to make this sound like I hate the game or anything, because like I said, I really like the bones of this game. I think that it has the structure, and I think there's a lot of potential for the game, but there's absolutely some things that rub me the wrong way that I have my gripes with, and honestly, a lot of this stuff probably isn't going to change. Absolutely, I'm just gonna have to air quote adapt, as they said in Modern Warfare 2019, and I will. I'll still play it. I still fundamentally have a good time with gunplay and all that kind of stuff. Will I get annoyed? Absolutely, but then again, what Call of Duty game doesn't annoy me from time to time? I just think if we expand upon those lack of features, we fix up some things in some areas, and I think that this honestly could be a stellar Call of Duty. If I'm giving an initial rating here with this, again, as we talked about in other videos, 10 out of 10 to me is just not possible. That means something is perfect. I always think there's room for improvement, whether that be in gaming, whether that be in something you do personally. Life's all about growing and improving. So 10 out of 10 to me is never going to be attainable. I'd say the best rating I'd ever give is like Black Ops 2 at 9 out of 10. So for this, maybe I'd say like a 6.5, 7. Again, you expand upon and change some of this stuff up, add some new things in. I do think that it can make its way up there to be a really good Call of Duty, but for right now, the launch kind of left a little sour taste in my mouth between all the crashing and some of the other stuff that we just mentioned, but again, there's room for improvement. I do like the base of it. Obviously, I'm still going to play it this year because I do love the Modern Warfare franchise, love the Modern Warfare series, and of course, I enjoy keeping you guys up to date with everything you need to know, and as well, giving some tips, tutorials, and all that kind of stuff for the current games, and then going further into Warzone 2 and DMZ upcoming, but that's my take on all of it. So that said, I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think here? Do you guys like the launch of Modern Warfare 2 so far? Do you maybe not so much? Is there anything that you'd change, alter, whatever the case, feel free to let me know. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on the video, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare 2. Of course, we've still got a lot upcoming, so make sure you're here for all of it. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine's been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.